she was asking if she should go ahead and do the intro, as she always does, and then introduce me, and then I could introduce her. And I said, no, I will. I will do this. Welcome to Lunch Poems. This is the first individual reading of the season. I think we have of the spring of the season. I think we've had and are continuing to have a spectacular year. Next month will be Louise Glick, who I think most people think is one of the amazing poets in the English language. And this is an amazing day. Not only do we have Giovanni this afternoon, but this evening another remarkable poet, Claudia Rankine, will be reading in the Holloway series, I think from her last book that astonished a lot of people, called Let Me Be Lonely. And that's at 6:30, and it's in the Maud Fife Room in Wheeler Hall. It's such a pleasure to introduce Giovanni and to celebrate her. This book, a lot of people have been waiting a long time for and have been impatient with her for not having it in our hands sooner, Ascension. Giovanni is, as you know, the coordinator of Lunch Poems. She was born in Richmond, Virginia. She came to California in the 90s to study, to do graduate work and to study with our Lynn Hegenian, who was then teaching at New College in San Francisco. Since then, for the last decade and more, she's been an active presence in the Bay Area literary scene, partly from her work of editing Nocturnes, a really interesting journal that she did as I think the editorial statement, and it says, of writers, experimental writing of the African American diaspora and other contested spaces. And in her early work, I thought of her and seen her give talks in which she talked not only about poetry, but about design, and that her work in some way sometimes resembled that of the Brazilian modernist poets who did stuff with concrete poetry, like this poem that ends Ascension, a capital I, and then a small I, and then just the dot on the I are the three stages of the statement of identity here. But at the heart of Ascension is an absolutely stunning series of 49 poems called The Ear of the Hearer? Be Here, The Ear of the Be Here. And they are a day book of poems, 49 poems, for the 49 days during which the great jazz pianist Alice Coltrane spent in the Bardo state between death and rebirth. So this is a 49 poem elegy meditation on the death and possible rebirth of a stunning artist. The poems, I felt like the only way to introduce these to you is to read them, but she's going to read them. I think she's a minimalist, no more words than she needs. If there's an artist, to me, this may or may not be true, behind her work, it might be Robert Creeley. That is, the ideal is to say it in as few words as possible, which leaves the poet pretty naked to say the thing plainly and in the least amount of language. And if you get a hold of this book, it's probably 2 long sessions to read those 49 poems, and they're just amazing. They really are something. They're surprising, they're spiritually alive, and they're fierce and delicate at the same time. I'm so glad that we're able to honor this book today. Please welcome Giovanni Singleton.
Good afternoon. I still keep wanting to do my job and talk about upcoming events and how today is Groundhog's Day, and I finally have, not seen my shadow, so I guess I have to come out at spring. Although there's some debate about that. This is the first public reading that I'm giving from Ascension, and I was absolutely over the moon at the invitation to present it here first today. As Bob mentioned, the heart of the book is a day book composed of 49 poems written during the time that Alice Coltrane was transitioning in the Bardo. And my interest in Alice Coltrane began right after I completed my MFA degree at New College, because once you're done with formal training, you still have school in you somewhere. So Alice Coltrane became an extension of school for me. When I found out that she was still alive, I went on a quest to find her, only to discover that she had not performed publicly for over 25 years. She was a spiritual leader of a community in Southern California. And of course, I was not going to go down there with my vinyl records in hand asking for an autograph. Thank you. But fortunately, she did come out of retirement just in the nick of time, and I did see her, one of her first concerts that she performed in 2006 at UCLA. Being newly licensed to drive, it became my first road trip, was to go to LA to see Alice Coltrane. It left quite an impression on me, both the traffic in LA and the concert at UCLA, where many people proceeded to get up and leave once Ms. Coltrane began to play. So I did attend that concert, and the next day I was interested in going to her ashram. I wanted to see the different aspects of her life, how she managed to incorporate the spiritual aspect of her life into her art. She played the harp as well as the piano, and at this time began playing the Wurlitzer organ. So I somehow found one of the members of her ashram, and he wrote perfect directions to the ashram. And I decided also that maybe it wasn't a good idea to go and, sort of be a looky-loo. So I tried to enlist other people that I knew in LA to go with me, and everyone refused. No one wanted to go. And I said, okay, I'm a believer in signs. If I come across a sign, in the morning before I go, I'll interpret that sign as to whether or not I really should do this. And, I loved her music, so I was very nervous about the prospect of being disappointed. So the next morning I went out to breakfast, and while standing in line, I looked up on the wall, and there was a postcard advertising the concert that I had attended the night before. So there was the sign. I was going to go to this ashram alone. And I did. The directions were perfect. I showed up. It's several hundred acres of land in, I think, Woodland Hills, California. And as I stood there, I had no idea which direction to go in. Someone magically appeared as if they popped up from the ground, saying, "Can I help you?" And I was reading this long list of, instructions for visitors. And I came across one that really stood out, which was that if you're a woman over the age of 14, you had to wear a dress. You could not enter the grounds without being properly attired. And normally I would know this. I met the Dalai Lama. I would know how to dress around, in a spiritual environment. But alas, I had on some pair of polyester bell-bottom pants, which I love dearly. But having gone all that way, I faced the idea or the possibility of not being able to go in. But this woman saw how eager I was and how I, might be disappointed, and she offered a solution. So I followed her, and in this back room was a stack of paper tablecloths. And she offered one, and explained to me that if I put it on, then I could then go in to the ashram and attend the service. So I stood there for a moment and I said, well, what am I going to do? I've come all this way. So needless to say, I figured out how to properly attire myself with a paper tablecloth. And so I went in, I did attend the service, but Ms. Coltrane had laryngitis. She could not speak, so there was not a discourse that day. But for 1.5 hours, she played the Wurlitzer organ in this tiny temple. And had she played one more note, I would not be here today. I mean, it was amazing. So I'm very grateful that to have met her at that time. And also, I attended her last concert, which was actually given here in San Francisco. I had a half an hour to get from a poetry reading I was giving at New College to the Masonic Auditorium. So Cinderella did get to the ball, but it turned out that it was her last concert. So today I would like to offer some selections from Ascension in honor of that pilgrimage and in honor of the work of Alice Coltrane. Ascension for love. To see love, to be love, I am love. To see love, to be love, I am love. To see love, to be love, I am love. To see love, to be love, I am love. To see love, to be love, I am love. To see love, to be love, I am love. January 12th, day 1. Feather, rattle, sky, sky, drum, turtle, cry, cry, talking stick, I, fire in the skull. January 13th, day 2. A blues poet stands at the crossroads, framed in indigo light. He reaches his hand around his left side, slits himself open as if to gut a fish. Once inside, he feels his heart, touches his liver. But he is not an oyster. He has not eaten sand. What then can a pearl be? January 15th, day 4. 1 part spring, 1 part rain, 1 part summer, 1 part absence, 1 part autumn, 1 part gone, 1 part winter, 1 part parting, leaves far from gathered. January 16th, day 5. God, where are you? The sound of gravel underfoot. Where could you be? January 17th, day 6. First person narrative. I am not for sale at any price. End of story. January 18th, day 7. And just what color is blue? Names forgive their meaning. Sundays are for what a mind thinks. History of touching stretches out beneath the surface. The only way to sleep is to imagine it is raining. And it is raining. Wind blows open and over a final line of defense. What happens, happens far away. January 19th, day 8. Through eyes slightly opened, I watched the slits in the guest house blinds hold vigil for December sun to rise, a mask in search of a face. Today, some things will no longer be true. Some things will deny ever knowing. January 21st, day 10. Crouching down in half light, the wind again picks up, rushes forward, hurls us to next. We did not know where we were going. Once we went way back to where every sound was a story and every silence epic. January 22nd, day 11. I've finally written a 2-page poem. At night, high beams scan the unseeable distance, an untitled landscape. Black is not a shade, but rather an impression. Oil on canvas. Scratch and sniff lawns on southern streets where one sips lemonade or iced tea before hosing down weeds in the way of light. Still life with jars marked and mislabeled for proper identification. Enjambment is a way of doing it, standing room only. Drums do not go quietly. Their chained rhythm treads water and stretches of road, ocean as enclosure. January 23rd, day 12. Dead fox beside the road, the risk we all run. January 24th, day 13. The readied hook, the swung rod, lowered bait gets you hooked, pulled up and into open air. Listen, let me tell you where I've been before the tide turns. January 26th, day 15. They sat for a time watching the fire burn, how ghosts climbed into him through the palms of his outstretched hands. Their cattle bore the cross, made her redeemer. A relationship poem. Ugh, those things. January 29th, day 18. Because he disremembered the past bound itself to him. It creased his mouth, furrowed his brow, grayed his hair. When he spoke, his voice used the language of disremembering. Because he disremembered his ex-wife, their love bound itself to him. Whenever he turned around, one could see her face looking out from the back of his head. It's a true story. January 31st, day 20. Through a gate that casts no shadow, steps lead to a house no longer standing. Inside, each room had become another. What was ready-made and monstrous. Someone else drew the picture, entered antlers first. February 1st, day 21. She went up the main road a ways. She did. A button fell from her one good dress. Sweat rolled slowly down her brow. It did. She looked all around. She did, but she never came back. And this poem was written during reflecting on one of many hikes I've taken with a friend of mine who's here today, Annette. And there's a correction that she made. There's miner's ladder, I think, is a type of flower, but I had lettuce. No, it's miner's lettuce, and I wanted ladder, so I kept ladder, I think. The poets are just like ruthless, right? February 2nd, day 22. Paintbrushes, buttercups, hemlock. Purple lupine make little beans after their flowers are gone. 3 dogs, 2 men, 3 women. Eucalyptus trees whose leaves fell quite some time ago. Chamomile, forget-me-nots, sage. Mallow shoots itself up and branches into trees. We don't step on the black scarab beetle in the middle of the path, nor the lizard in sphinx pose. Anthill, gopher hole, hornet's nest. We see fennel, some non-native thistle. We eat mustard, flowers, taste of Dijon. Queen Anne's lace, nettle, miner's ladder. And toward the end, there's a little climb. You see why lettuce was not going to work? Sometimes there are flashes of wisdom which I'm still trying to unravel. February 3rd, day 23. Too much pruning brings misfortune. It's the editing process, you see. February 4th, day 24. To confess, one dreams about manhole covers, another about elevator shafts. Feelings, systems of beliefs stored in boxes. A mask searches for a face. A flickering light fashions arms into wings. February 5th, day 25. The circles she spins widen and emptiness pours in. The net catches its prey. She swallows hard what love there is. February 6th, day 26. She pulled the fishhooks from his throat. What they could not extinguish lay claim to their souls. He used his eyes to make waves, precious gems. And February 7th, day 27, some historical figures, ancestors make an appearance in this poem. All that day, labored breath, the dead brushed against me, a litany of faces, their names beside, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Tony K. Bambara, Mahalia Jackson, Shirley Ann Hempel, Isabel Sanford, Shirley Chisholm, Clara Ward, Nell Carter, Lynn Thigpen, Fantastic Gyre, hours struck, memory turned upon itself, unable to halt liberation, the soul's cast iron clapper. Another bit of wisdom. February 9th, day 29. Write what you know, continued. Flattery is a fool's delight. February 12th, day 32. By the sounds of it, speech was more than crossing a river. No telling how anyone will come back. Goats graze behind electrified wire. Mind moves in figure eights. All beginnings come back around and gather at the end. February 13th, day 33. The water by itself at first, sea work. A black pomfret washed ashore, its scaled flesh flapping against the rocks. A door off its hinges. Washi often kept the red kettle brewing. February 14th, day 34. I guess it was Valentine's Day. In the distance, a woman hears a train that isn't there. Nevertheless, its passengers and their baggage get to where they're going. February 15th, day 35. When I was 9 years old, I killed a bird, he said. Why? I asked. Because I wanted to see what was inside. And did you see? I don't remember. Well, then close your eyes. Why? He asked. To see what's inside, I said. February 16th, day 36. We are busy and wanting to push through light. The bowl I drink from says we humans keep cutting back the trees so that we alone can live. And I realize too, just how much I don't want to be lost. February 19th, day 39. Black girl, you a black girl. Black girl, play on blacktop, play. Girl, black, you a black girl. Jump down, turn around. Black girl, sing pretty song. You a black girl. Play on, merry go round. You black girl. Look, merry go mad. You black, you girl. February 20th, day 40. Can I write about Alice Coltrane or be inspired by her and not think of John Coltrane's A Love Supreme? So, my send up. Gates open as acknowledgement. Deep breath as song. Not so much the aspiration as the pursuance, as the pronouncement, as resolution, as prayer, sutured under tongue. February 21st, day 41. In a place beyond sleep, I was on the ground, in the center of a circle formed by half-naked people, their faces covered with brightly painted masks, horns curved out from the tops of their heads, cowbells hung from collars around their necks, and cowbells, too, where their hands should have been. February 22nd, day 42. In a fitful state, a neighbor swallowed the moon. People often wish to receive more than they give, pronounced the doctor, who weeks earlier had himself devoured 3 planets. And of course, we know how much I love my bell-bottoms. February 23rd, day 43. I opened my eyes. I did. I found myself inside a watermelon. No remnants of red flesh or black seeds. It was cold and damp, in spite of my off-white cable knit sweater, hat, and wool bell-bottom pants. The vessel, boat, or ark rocked slightly from side to side as I tried to escape. Upon standing, however, I realized that I was only 6 inches tall. I, of course, shouted for help, and a pair of large hands appeared and placed 2 wooden spoons on either side for oars. It was cold. February 24th, day 44. A mother agrees to look away while her son tosses a coin into the fountain. "Did you throw it in yet?" she asks impatiently. Water roars from the lion's mouth. Yeah, I've been done that, the boy says, having wished some odd dream into being. And then I'd like to think that my concrete poems are still readable as well as visual, so I'm going to attempt to read one written for February 25th, day 45, and it looks like the opposite of what it says, but it's a pyramid. But the poem reads, the world is round, 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 the world is 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 round. Ain't it? Okay, so I'm going to read the last three in this section. February 27th, day 47. Brown bark stems picked for pretty, bent forward bodies, tufts of white, floral arranged in 12-foot window, not meant to frame, now absent master, save the boll weevil in turns of earth, the unmercied blink, cotton ball eyes, their mournful songs, my own pricked fingers. February 28th, day 48. Elders on their bench, upright and knowing, such and so. For what would they trade the solid whites of their eyes? A right turn, patience nests in the mind. Salvationers, dark pupils, point themselves into angels. And the last poem is how I transitioned to Marin County. It's March 1st, day 49. Go, go, go into the forest, walk among the deer. So I want to read a couple from another section of the book entitled Melanin Sweet. And it's a series of 9 poems. And it's not necessarily, I'm not sure that they actually make logical sense, but I wrote them while listening to Alice Coltrane's music. And so trying to attune the words to the sounds that I was hearing. So feel free to just let them wash over you. Okay. And all of the movements are named for various shades of brown. First movement, burnt umber. Silence, a guardrail, teeth knitted together, a corrugated tongue. Silence leaves a strain of being work, of looking almost dead. Shade burns as if to interfere. Photographs, a need to hold still for a moment. Everything that counts appears in past tense. Time accumulates as in a reflecting pool. Second movement, dark brown. Sitting in a darkened hallway, salt water, bodies rock steady, muffled pounding, door of no return, closed and closer, under measured reconstruction. Living seeps through and echoes, stillness outside in. A collective breath persists without apology. Mud-stained spoons undulate from shore to distant shore. Then one day walk as if rowing a boat. Third movement, sepia. Anyone configures everyone at random. Long and short tangents of breath shift, then evaporate. Separation from self. Remembering and forgetfulness. Therein is some predestination to go on and into other structures. A rear exit, the route made visible. Singularity of purpose breaks down momentum. sleep moves without sound, as in amazing grace. Then go in fifth movement, Sienna. We, us, and thou, voices sound a downtown destination. The boulevard, horns blow, fast and furious. Ghostly drummer makes flight. Some rap, tap, 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 conductor of multi-directional speaking. Crowds stand behind cranial walls, all smoke-filled. Boy, man, a vast expanse. Skeletal remains spread down on the ground, as in quilted covering. Okay, so this last one, eighth movement, mahogany. Ecstatic song, escuchar, a mask in every note. Feather-fletched arrows due east, las palabras. A ceremonial gesture, premonitions at the landscape's edge. Palatial bed of wildflowers, los ojos. An arc of rainbow light, la puerta, ears opening, a refrain as in Holy Ghost. Okay, so the section ends actually with, in the form of a mesostic, which is a poem, a form developed by the composer John Cage, and it usually takes the subject's name as the center of each of the lines. And so I've done one for Alice Coltrane, which looks something like that. I don't know if people can see it, but you can buy the book. Yeah, then you'll see it. Vedantic temple prayers, tambourines, and hallelujah claps for Krishna, Ganesha, Shiva. Tariya's scripture, a journey in Satchidananda. Beloved John's stained glass face, churched in gospel harp. Lord of Lords, Detroit ministry pours from Swami's Wurlitzer. Okay. So what I'd like to do now before I read the last poem from here is, because poets are like that too, we need to make sure that we can still do this thing. And I, can't benefit from Viagra or anything. So I actually would like to share two new poems and then read the last poem, Exodus, from Ascension. And this is from a new series called Reflected. And it's a series of self-portraits. And it began with me looking at a watercolorist self-portrait, and then also being sick as a dog while cat sitting over Thanksgiving and trying to locate some me that was not sick. So this is, the first one is simply entitled Self-Portrait. Self-portrait, not after John Ashbery's self-portrait in a convex mirror, though if it were, it might very well have turned out a better poem or better off unwritten. See a horse on its side galloping. My left pupil is smaller than my right. My left eye, the future, protection of Horus's moon. My right eye, the past, or because of mother. My head shows in the top mirror. My belly reflects in the one below it. Apples and pears are at home. A spirit drinking from the upstairs tap. I make myself a number 8 with 2 vertically stacked circles. Birds feed on a heart-centered life. The red leaves, an angel entering. And then this one I wrote a couple of weeks ago, but I want to offer it up to someone who was instrumental in creating this. I don't know if you are familiar with the program called Soul Train. It was around the same time as American Bandstand. And the host, Don Cornelius, recently passed, like yesterday. And before his passing, though, I, for some reason, began, going back and thinking about how at one point I wanted to be a Soul Train dancer. And so I said, well, one way to do that is to write a poem. So this is Still Life, as Soul Train dancer for Don Cornelius. The beat, the beat, the beat, the beat, the backbeat, backbeat, the backbeat, the beat, the beat, the beat. Ain't nothing going on but the rent. The beat, the beat, the beat, the beat, the beat, the beat. Get on the good foot. The beat, the beat, the beat, the beat. That's where it's at. The beat, the beat, the beat, the beat. I feel good. The beat, the beat, the beat, the beat. Take it to the bridge. The beat, the beat, the beat, the beat. Get on down. The beat, the beat, the beat, the beat, the beat. Get up. Okay, so I would like now to end, if you generate all that heat, we have to bring it on down. It's called Exodus. And again, I'm very happy to have written a 2-page poem. Very excited. Thank you all for coming. Exodus, for the blue people, being so. All night about above, I go down, stare out at rushing water through open window. Ocean of starlit sky fills my head, unburdens the weight of my brain, blooms a lotus flower. Its stem stretches up through the soles of my feet, pathway to the country inside me. Its people, seekers, naked in the smokeless clearing. Stained glass maze, past lifetimes spent hunting crow. Here they go, here they go, here they go. Astral stream of inky wings fluttering skyward. Echoes of ancient chants rise from the wooden cage in my throat. We are not this dance, but that one. Weather flashes across the backsides of my eyelids. We, me, and T-Monk too, fold up our chairs, go inside our cranial houses. This earthen soul, a flock of birds, where we are new, we are new, we are new to this body. Thank you.